Welcome back, Awakenings. I am the expert, the master of disaster, the one that owns the coin series, and then we got Strolla, and we are here today to talk about some of the most difficult of levels in video games that we have played. Give me just a second, as usual. Yes, you're gonna be hearing a bunch of Street Fighter music. Because, you know, I'm in a Street Fighter mood. I would really like to be able to play Street Fighter 6, but, no dice on that. I tried out the Street Fighter 6 demo on Steam, and, it works. Every now and then it stutters and freezes up a little bit, but, like, it works. I don't know if I should actually try to play on PC, though, because I don't want to kill my computer. Probably have to, like, lower the graphics settings or something. I'm just upset that I wasn't able to do the, collab last night, because I didn't know I needed PlayStation Plus. And PlayStation Plus costs a lot of money. $75 a year for that, which I don't have the money for, by the way. Anyways, enough of that. Let us talk about some of these levels, shall we? Now, a lot of these levels that people, myself included, might have difficulties with are probably near the end of the game. I don't think that's always the case. We will see what, some of those levels may be. For example, like, let's say, like, Super Mario Bros. 1. We'll use that as an example. My opinion, the hardest level in that game ain't free. Hands down. Hands down the worst level of the game. And I say that because trying to get through all of those hammer throws is a pain in the butt. Like, it's not even the bullet bills, it's just the hammer throws. They're just everywhere. Getting through all the hammers is a pain in the butt. Like, I could go through the rest of the game perfectly fine without dying. Get 8-3, and I'll just start dying a lot. That's just an example. Just one example. Give me just a second. Now, you say, something like, say, Super Mario Bros. Lost Levels, I can't really tell you what the hardest level is. Because there's a lot of hard levels in that game. There's a lot of hard levels in that game. But then you get something like Super Mario Bros. 3, and, what is the most difficult level of Super Mario Bros. 3? Let me think. I can't remember what all the levels were, too. Because it's been a long time since I played Super Mario Bros. 3. So I don't think I remember what all the levels were. Honestly, I think one of the levels in the Sky World was pretty rough. I want to say one of the Sky World levels was one of the harder levels. I mean, obviously 8-1, the actual 8-1 level was pretty nasty, but like, that's for a different reason. It's pretty nasty, but it's not nasty. Honestly, the final airship is probably the hardest, because you gotta make such precise jumps, and you got that Rocky Wrench thrown wrenches probably at the perfect spots all the time. I want to say, I still think one of the Sky World levels was pretty hard. I just don't remember which Sky World level. The Muncher run in World 7 could be difficult, depending on how your timing is, but like, I want to say it was the vertical level with the flame tongue, the fire tongue. That one was kind of rough. There was a world in Ice World that was kind of rough. I don't remember which one that is, though. Like, there's a couple rough levels in that game. And then you have Super Mario World, I will say RPG. We'll get that one. RPGs are a different beast. Super Mario World. I think the hardest level in Super Mario World, it is probably... let me think. Thinking. It's probably going to be a Star World level, honestly. It might be Star World 5. That's probably one people might say is one of the hardest. But honestly, like, people might say that, is it Tubular? Is that the balloon level in a Special World? I think it's Tubular there. People will probably say that's hard. Honestly, I don't think Tubular's that difficult. I think Tubular's actually relatively easy. It's just timing. That's all it. The heck was that noise? Was that Windows? Okay. Okay, Windows. Just surprise. Here's Windows. Give me just a second. 1 second. Hopefully the music's not too loud. I don't know if the music's too loud or not. Give me just a second. 1 second. Alright, sorry, I was replying to someone talking about Smash. You know how I am, I gotta reply to something about Smash. Anyways, I think there's also a level in, Chocolate Island that was pretty rough. I don't remember what that level was. Honestly, if you want a level that's kinda annoying in, Chocolate Island, is the one where you have to get like a certain amount of points or coins or time or whatever in order to get the normal exit and the secret exit. Sometimes it feels like it's harder to get the normal exit than the secret exit. just sometimes. The hardest oh, I remember what it is. It's like the last fortress in Bowser's world. You know, the one with all the Mega Sprites? That level's pretty nasty. That one's awful. Just because it's so easy to just die with the Mega Sprites. But speaking of RPGs, RPGs are a little bit harder to, gauge. Because what constitutes as a level? What constitutes as difficult? Is it the random encounters? Is it the area? Is it the boss? Is it a combination of all of these? Because if we go with a combination of all of that, then I think the hardest place in like Super Mario RPG will probably have to be the Sunken Ship, in my opinion. Like, if you go in there without knowing how to play the game properly, like if you got there just by fumbling your way through or not understanding how, Just Defend, I guess I'll call it, works. Time Block, that's what it was, Time Block. Then that place can mess you up royally. Like, the enemies there are kinda mean. And like, I mean, King Calamari's not really anything difficult, but Johnny's kinda rough. Especially if you don't know how to seize Johnny, so you don't have to fight the, one-on-one fight. The one-on-one fight's kinda rough. Not gonna lie, the one-on-one fight's kinda difficult. But if you want the hardest boss in Super Mario RPG, I think it's the cake. Like, we're not including super bosses in this for RPGs, because I mean, super bosses usually are supposed to be the hardest. Not always. Not always, because, I mean, if you know how to deal with them, like in FF5 or FF7, they're nothing. But, like, for the most part, super bosses kind of just, you know, whatever. But, like Helix would be technically the hardest boss, but you could kind of nullify him in, the SNES version. You can kind of deal with him in the, remake, too, but, like, the cake, dude, the cake just, it sucks. It really sucks. Like, that is, like, the run killer for speedrunners. And despite how many times I've played Super Mario RPG, the cake is always the worst fight. Like, it is so easy to just die. Because it just, you don't have peaks, so you don't have a good way of healing, and it does a crap ton of damage. It's just like, whew! Whew! Oh, that's a lot of damage! You know? Just, it's a lot of damage. Give me a second. 1 second. Apologies, I gotta respond. I must respond to Smash. Anyways, now, that's Super Mario RPG. If we move to something like Final Fantasy VII, I think that's a little bit of a split. Like, if you were asked, what's the hardest, thing about Final Fantasy VII? For someone like me who knows the game, that's none of it. But, if you were asked my personal opinion of what is the hardest thing in Final Fantasy VII, in terms of bosses, I would say Demon's Gate and Carry Armor. They are the worst two bosses in that game. Demon's Gate because it's so hanky and it hurts. It actually hurts a lot. Now, if you have, like, right arms or, what is it? What the heck is it? Is it Molotov? It might be Molotov. No, Molotov's for fire damage. There's something else you could get. I don't remember what it is, but, is it Molotov? No, that's fire. There's something else you can get, but anyways, you can use that to bypass its high defense. And Carry Armor, if you have Magic Hammer, you use it like twice on it, there goes the main threat. But like, I remember back in the day when I went over to an offline buddies, he was playing Carry Armor, and he couldn't beat Carry Armor, and he had me try to beat him, because, you know, he knew that I was good at Final Fantasy stuff, but he knew I knew how to deal with the game, and I tried. I game over several times, and we're just like, what is going on? Like, this boss is just destroying our souls. Now, to be fair, he didn't have Magic Hammer. I don't think he had Shrine or Magic Breath, so he didn't have a couple of things that really helped the fight. But the biggest thing is, the boss would immediately grab two people. And then I would kill off one of the people, I can try to revive the person, and he will immediately grab again. And it's just like, oh my god, why are you still grabbing? It's like, please, stop! Please! Give me a second again. Well, hey, we're at Akuma's theme. But if you're asking about, like, the hardest area, in terms of, like, say, enemies, I don't think that, Temple of Ancients is the hardest area, because they're not really that difficult. It's just Demon's Gate that's really nasty. And, like, the underwater reactor, that's nothing. It's just carry armor that's a pain in the butt. But in terms of areas, I would say one of the worst areas is probably, let me think. I'm thinking. Would it be Gaia's Cliff? It might be Gaia's Cliff, because it's very easy to get, ambushed and absolutely destroyed by Malboro and the Stilva. Both of them are jerk enemies. So the Malboro and Stilva make a great glacier and pain in the butt, but otherwise it's not that difficult, because you can just use Bait Hut to completely demolish the area. So what else would be, like, the hardest thing? See, that's the thing. Some of the hardest areas you can probably get by abusing weaknesses. Like, in Midgard, the second time, some of the enemies there are kinda nasty because they like to, inflict confusion. And if you don't have a way to deal with confusion, they're dumb. But, like, most of the enemies there are weak to lightning, so you can just magic breath them and they will die. Labyrinth of Time? I mean, if we're counting, like, optional dungeons, then Labyrinth of Time is probably the, hardest in FF1. But if we're going without, like, post-game stuff, then, like, FF1's hardest area is probably gonna be Mount Gulag. Or Mount Gold. I think. Because you have to deal with the lava piles in Mount Gold all the time. And there's like, you can't do anything about that. And the enemies kinda suck. Like, the enemies do kinda suck there. Honestly, the hardest boss in FF1 is probably Ascos. I'm gonna say it's Ascos, because Ascos can, like, just mess you up royally. With instant death and stuff. Like, the four fiends are not really that difficult, in my opinion. Now, they're a little bit harder than the original. Yeah, I was going to say spell slots. Like, the spell slots in the PlayStation and, NES versions does make areas a lot more difficult in general. Like, I can't really say that, Mirage Tower is really that difficult. But, I can say that the Ice Cavern sucks. If it's not Mount Gold, it's the Ice Cavern. Because of the freaking Mind Flayers. Because you can get instant death there so much. And don't forget the, Beholder boss. I don't remember what the, Beholder is called. It might be Beholder. But, like, there's so many instant death in, that area. So many. Give me a second again if you will. Sorry about that. The volcano area in CX. In CX? Did I play CX? If I played the CX, I don't remember CX very well. Honestly, I did play. I don't remember it very well. It's kind of a blur. It wasn't really that memorable to me, in all honesty. Like, some of the Mega Man levels were pretty difficult. Like, Mega Man 1 it has to be Quick Man stage. Was it Quick Man? Quick Man was in, Mega Man 1, right? A purple monkey? I don't remember too well. But yeah, Mega Man 1, I think it's Quick Man stage. That is like the hardest level in the game. Mega Man 2. Quick Man was Mega Man 2? Wait, Quick Man was Mega Man 2? Really? I have to look at, let me look at the Mega Man list. What is in Mega Man 1? Mega Man 1 bosses. Show me the Mega Man bosses. Cutman, Lucky Man, Iceman, Fireman, Bomb Man. I actually don't know what the hardest level in that game is. I mean, to be fair, it's been a long time since I played Mega Man, so, like, I'm gonna forget stuff. Like, I don't even remember what the hardest level in Mega Man 1 was. That was, like, in 2015, I think. When was the last time I did Mega Man 1? Let me see when I did Mega Man 1. Let me find out what I did in Mega Man 1. Oh, Mint's playing Metal Gear Solid right now. Interesting. Mega Man 1. That does not tell me what the Mega Man 1 is. This is just like all the Mega Man. I don't want all the Mega Mans. Give me a second. I will find where it is. That's not Mega Man. It was in 2011 that I last played Mega Man 1. 2011. I mean, should I really? Because in all honesty, I mean, I already did them. And like, I'd rather just play new stuff than revisit old stuff for the most part. I mean, if I have like a collection or something, then I would probably revisit stuff like the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. If I had that, I would revisit all of those FFs. But like, I have no reason to revisit FFs right now, so like, they're probably not gonna happen unless I have the Pixel Remaster. Same with like the Mega Man games. If I don't have a reason to replay them, then I'm probably not going to restream them. Unless I have, like, absolutely nothing else to do, you know? Man, I don't remember the Mega Man games. I remember a water level in one of the Mega Man games that had spikes, like, all over it being an awful level. And I don't remember which level that was. Yeah, I don't remember the Mega Man games. And you may have seen it in the thumbnail, but, one of the worst levels, I think, in, Battletoads and Double Dragon, it might have been Bubble Man. Because I remember, climbing down the ladder, and letting go of the ladder and instantly dying. I remember that happening. And I was like, why did I die? I just let go of the ladder and dropped straight down. But, Battletoads and Double Dragon, it's definitely the space level because of the, jank controls. I mean, like, aside from the space level with the ship, I think the hardest level might be, either the level before or after that one. The one before because of the falling debris, and it's very easy to just fall into a pit and die. And the level after, just because of the flames, that can just instantly kill you, and timing with the flames is kinda hard. But the space level is just bad, because, so, like, you get, like, one hit on your ship and you die. And it's very easy to just die. Yeah. And you may also have seen, Super Ghouls and Ghosts in the thumbnail. Honestly, I think the whole game's hard. I can't pick one single level in that game, because I've never got past level 2. So, like, Ghouls and Ghosts is just, it's difficult for me. I have never been able to deal with that game. Like, ever. Like, ever. You have beaten it, Hate? You've beaten Super Ghouls and Ghosts? Then that is a game you have beaten that I have not. Like, it's mostly the jumping controls. I can't deal with the jumping controls. They're kind of a thing. They're kind of a difficult thing for me to deal with. I might try it someday, but, like, it's not gonna be any day soon. I don't think it's gonna be any day soon. And also with the thumbnail, you may have seen Super Mario 64. And yes, I do think Rainbow Ride is probably one of the worst levels in the game. But I also think that, what was it? Let me think the level. Next Halloween. You think I'm gonna do it next Halloween? It's gonna take like the entire month for me to do. It's gonna take me like the entire month just to beat one level in that game. Rainbow Ride, honestly, I think Hit Hot Clock could be considered one of the hardest levels in, Super Mario 64 for me. Like, Hit Hot Clock is pretty rough if you don't stop the clock. If you do stop the clock, it's a lot easier, but, like, otherwise, that place is, ugh. Oof! Sorry. Sorry about that. I hit my, mic. Ow, my thumb. Now my thumb hurts. Ecclesia. I don't remember Ecclesia very well. Man, I don't remember. My memory is very bad, isn't it? Wow. I will say, in a recent game I played, classic mode for Bloodstain, It's probably the water level. The water level in that classic mode just sucks. It really sucks. And in normal Bloodstained, I think the hardest part of normal Bloodstained is probably the fire area. Like the lava caves. The lava caves suck. Oh, dude. You want to talk about terrible bosses? Dracula is one of the worst bosses. Like, in general, is one of the worst bosses. Like, it's so badly designed. Oh, hey, it's Charlie's theme. It's just like, bruh, why do you have this arena for this boss who can just teleport anywhere and just knock you into the pit so easily? Speaking of bosses, I don't think any of the regular bosses in Bloodstained were really that difficult, honestly. I think they were all very easy. And I'm not counting, like, the optional bosses, otherwise, you know, OD is definitely the hardest boss. Again, optional bosses are usually supposed to be the hardest bosses in the game. That's why I don't really count them. Let me think. Oh, Valkyrie Profile. The hardest level in that game is, what the heck is it called? Is it Clockwork Manor? Let me look that up. Valkyrie Profile levels. Or, areas. Let me look. Salerno Academy was kinda annoying. It was Clockwork Mansion, I think, is one of the worst areas. Clockwork Mansion sucks. It absolutely sucks. And I think Art Game Ruins was pretty bad, too. Not Art Game Ruins. Was it Art Game Ruins? No, it was Arian Rod Labyrinth. That place sucked. So, Arian Rod Labyrinth and Clockwork Mansion were, like, the worst areas of the game in, Valkyrie Profile. Arian Rod Labyrinth, because, you know, it's a teleport base, and you need, like, do math, and it's kind of annoying math, especially if you want to get everything. Clockwork Mansion just sucked, because of, It was just bad. It was just bad, man. It felt bad. Because you had to deal with the Rotheim maze in it, and it was... Ugh. It's just... Wrong one. It was so bad. it was terrible. But the hardest boss in Valkyrie Profile. Honestly, I don't think any of them were. Because here's the thing about Valkyrie Profile. If you know how to do stuff in that game, much like any other game, you can completely break that game. Like, you could get a weapon very early for mages, and just completely breaks them. As long as you don't use the Purified Weird Soul with them, that weapon will never break, and it gives them a stupid amount of magic. And if you have something like Prismatic Missile or Mystic Cross, things are gonna die. Like, things are just gonna die. It is stupid how powerful that weapon is. So, like, I can't even tell you what the hardest boss is. Because I never play the game fair. And I will tell you right now, whenever I do replay it, I said earlier, I don't normally replay games. That's a game I plan on replaying because it's been so long. And the playthrough is so old that it really deserves to be redone. And we're going to be doing the PSP version. But, like, I'm going to be having a guide up for it. Because getting the true ending is, like, have fun. And, because of that, you're probably going to see me try to break the game. And if I break the game properly, it's kind of RNG if I do. But if I break the game properly, it's just over. It's just over. Let me think. Super Mario Sunshine. What is the hardest level? Honestly, the one river raft level that made me stop trying to 100% the game kind of really sucks, but, honestly, any level that requires having a controlled flood to, move around in on a raft really sucks. I recall one level that involved having to deal with chunks. Actually, it might be the hotel level that sucked the most. Was it the hotel level that was, like, awful? Like, none of the bosses were really difficult. It was mostly just levels. And that might be due to, how Sunshine played, in all honesty. Speaking of hardest level, Contra 3. I think some of the hardest levels in Contra 3 are the top-down levels. I swear, the top-down levels in Contra 3 are awful to deal with. Like, I think in terms of other levels, was it level 5? Yeah, I'm a chuckster. I'm gonna chuck you and you're gonna die. And you're gonna go, wah! Because you died of heat stroke. Now from chuckster. But yeah, I think it's the level 5 in Contra 3 that's like awful. I think it's the motorcycle level that involves having to climb up and you have to go on missiles. I think that one's probably the hardest level outside the top-down levels in Contra 3. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Zombie Ate My Neighbors is kind of hard to pinpoint the hardest level. Because let's be real, some of the levels in that game are just brutal. Like, that game is kind of rough. And any levels that deal with, like, giant ants are awful. And here's the thing. The game cheats. The game will cheat. If you're trying to 100% the game and not have anyone die, good luck. Because you're going to have to overload the memory of the game so that certain monsters do not spawn. Because some victims in levels have a 100% chance of dying if you don't overload the memory and make it so that those specific monsters do not spawn. And in later levels of the game, that happens a lot. Because, you know, the game cheats. The game will actively cheat. Give me just a second. One of the ass head levels in Metal Slug. See, here's the thing about Metal Slug, because the version that I played, I had infinite continues. So, like, because of that, can you really say any of them were, like, difficult because you have infinite continues? Yeah, the werewolves. The werewolves in that game were, like, they were on timer. And if you didn't get them in time, they were just gone. But there were some levels, like, spikers would spawn right on top of victims. Zombies would spawn right on top of victims. Sometimes you would just go to where a victim is and a monster would just be there like a chainsaw maniac. And you're just like, okay, that was awesome. Or like, say like the early level, you know, the first bonus level you could get to, Day of the Tentacle. Where sometimes a tentacle would just be right there and instantly kill a victim. And it's random if that happens. It's not 100% guaranteed. It would just sometimes be right there, and oh, they're dead. But honestly, I think anything that involves ants, especially red ants. Red ants suck. Red ants are the worst enemy in that game. They suck because they're so fast and they're so hard to get off of you. And it's just like, oh. Snakeozoids are probably one of the hardest enemies, honestly. The final boss, I guess, would be the hardest boss, obviously, but, like, that depends on what resources you have. Because you're gonna be running low on resources by the time you get to, Dr. Hung. Any level that involves having to swim kinda sucks too, honestly. I remember some of those swimming levels being like, oh god, it's this level. Oh, I gotta go for this level with the stupid fistmen to try to save these idiots. Super Ninja Boys. I don't know how many people know it's Super Ninja Boys, but I would say the hardest boss in that game is the second boss, General Knox. Like, I don't know what it is about that guy. That guy just hits really hard, and you just die, like, super fast, and it's just like, bro, why is this guy just destroying me? And his dungeon sucks. Ew, the enemies are awful. And the encounter rate in that area is just bad. Like, no other area in that game is as bad as that. And trying to get to the area sucks too, because there's like instant death spikes. Ghoul Patrol is easier. See, I have not played it. I was gonna play Ghoul Patrol, but I never did. I might try it someday just to try it, but I don't know. We will see. I might use save states just so I don't have to restart the entire game all over again. You know? There we go. What was I talking about? What game was I talking about? I forgot. I mean, I'm keeping fighting games out of this because, you know, fighting games are completely different. So fighting games are not in this, conversation. Final Fantasy IX. The hardest area in Final Fantasy IX? I think the hardest area in Final Fantasy IX is probably the Desert Palace, I want to say. Just because I don't know, is it the Desert Palace? Would you say the Desert Palace is the hardest area in Final Fantasy IX? Let me think. I'm trying to go through all the areas. Like, the puzzle in Desert Palace isn't very difficult. It's just like a gimmick makes the area kinda and depending on who you left behind, it might be easier or harder. I don't know, Mount Gold might also be kinda rough. Like, Mount Gold has some pretty rough enemies by comparison. Honestly, the hardest boss at FF9 is probably, Hantarian. Hantarian sucks, dude. Hantarian is an awful boss. Like, dude. Like, especially if you want to steal from it, it's just bad. Like, it's just awful. And if you want to talk about the hardest boss to steal from, Hill Giggers. Please, just give me the fairy flute. I just want the fairy flute, please! It's like a 0.5% skill rate, why? But, otherwise, the hardest boss, who is the hardest boss at FF9? Other than Hantarian. Hey, it's Guy's theme. FF9 didn't really have very difficult bosses, did it? Did FF9 have any difficult boss outside of Hantarian? I don't really think so. I think most of the bosses were kind of tame. And FF8, I can't really say has a difficult area or boss, because, you know, FF8's very abusable. FF6! I think the hardest area in FF6 might be... What is the hardest area in FF6? Honestly, it might be Geralt's Tomb. Geralt's Tomb might be the hardest area, just because of the enemies. Like, the area itself's not difficult, but the enemies are, Like, the enemies kind of really suck in that dungeon. Otherwise, Cave of Espers might be a good contender. Honestly, Floating Continent. I think Floating Continent might be the winner. Just because the enemies there are just really rough. And like, Ultima Weapon kinda sucks. Yeah, I think it's the Floating Continent. I think the Floating Continent's the difficult area. I mean, we could say something like, Tower of Fanatics might be the most difficult because of what you have to do there, but, Phoenix Cave could be considered the most difficult. I think it's the Floating Continent. The only reason Phoenix Cave is anywhere remotely difficult is because of the, multi-party split. And, Tower of Fanatics you get by if you just level up magic, honestly. Floating Continent, you can't really do that because it's earlier in the game, and you don't really have that great of magic. And things hurt. Behemoths hurt. Dragons hurt. Ninjas hurt. Brain pants suck. Like, that area just is awful. And if you want to talk about, like, FF5 and the worst area in FF5, FF5 has a couple terrible areas. Let me think. I was watching Koyori play it. And she got to Akusa Castle, where the sealed weapons are for the first time. So, based off of that, I don't know, Steph's Castle kinda sucks. In all honesty. Would I say Steph's Castle is the hardest area, though? Because, like, most of the areas are kind of short, and they're not really that difficult. Let me think. The pyramid kind of sucks. A little bit. Fork Tower. That place might be one of the worst areas. Like, just because you have to split your party in half, and if you go with the wrong party in the wrong tower, you can just easily just die. It's very easy to just mess things up. But honestly, I think at Steph's Castle is probably the worst area in the game. It might be. It might be. What do you guys think is the worst area in FF5? Honestly, I think at Steph, the first fight with him is probably one of the hardest fights in the game. Because he hits hard. That dude knows how to throw hands. Or, throw spells. But, The underwater tower? I guess the underwater tower can be difficult. Are you talking about the one with Go-Go? If you're talking about the one with Go-Go, I don't know if that's considered the hardest. Like, you can run from everything, I mean... And Go-Go himself's not that difficult. If you're not trying to fight Go-Go legit, which, why are you trying to fight Go-Go legit? I don't think that place is that difficult, really. I really don't think that's that difficult. I still think Fork Tower's worse than, Underwater Tower. I know the, area, the desert area where you gotta find the Moogle Hound. That place sucks! Because of the enemies there, oh my god, does the place suck. It's probably the worst, overworld area to deal with. And if you want to talk about terrible overworld areas, FF6 had one somewhere. I don't remember where. Oh, FF6 had... It was around the Vector area. Because of some of the, like... It was like chicken lips or something. Those enemies were like, ugh. But yeah, I still think it's Fork Tower or at Steph's Castle for FF5 for me. FF4, the worst area in FF4, I think would be, the Sylph Cave. The Sylph Cave is probably the worst area. It's probably the hardest area in terms of, making sure you're not dying. If you don't have float, it sucks. If you have float, it's kinda not as bad. But, the Malboros and other enemies are kinda dumb there. Otherwise, I would say the hardest area in FF4 is probably gonna be, I'm not sure, because FF4 is not really that difficult of a game. It's really not. Now, if you play the DS version, now, I'm gonna say the Tower of Sot is probably the worst area in FF4 DS, because screw the Tower of Sot. Like, that place legit made me mad. When I played, FF4 DS, that place sucked. And if I recall, FF4 DS, Demon Wall is like one of the worst bosses in FF4, you're right. Like, he is awful to deal with. He's probably the hardest boss. Yeah, it would have to be Demon Wall, because none of the four fiends, or Archfiends, rather, are difficult to fight. Golbez isn't hard. CPU's not hard if you know, don't kill both the bits. Biden's not hard. Honestly, Dark Bahamut can be probably one of the hardest bosses, I think. But Dark Bahamut's optional too, so I don't know if we could consider Dark Bahamut. And like, I'm not considering final bosses for an obvious reason. Because if we do that, then FF4DS, I say hello to Ceramis. Ugh. Ceramis and FF4DS is awful, by the way. 4,000 damage Big Bang every turn. Oh joy. At level 80. Here's one for you. Final Fight. Since I hear Final Fight music. The second to last level in Final Fight, I think it's the hardest level. Just because of how long it is. And you run into a lot of Ondors, too. There's a lot of Ondors there. And Abigail? Abigail sucks. Abigail is awful to fight. Like, all the other bosses in Final Fight 1, not really too difficult. I don't know, Sodom is kinda terrible to fight too. But Abigail? I think Abigail beats Sodom. I think Abigail is just... I don't remember Final Fight 2 or 3 very well, so I can't really speak on the levels there. But like, Final Fight 1 and its second last level, definitely the worst level in the game. Let me think. Ys! What is the worst level in, like, say, Ys of Belgana? Do I remember any of those levels? I know there was one level in one of the Ys games that I died a lot in a cave. That might have been Ark of Nakasteam. There was a level that was a cave, that was a maze, where you can run into, like, shadow angles, and that place sucked. I think it was Ark of Nakasteam. It's either that or Oath of Belgana. And it was like the worst freaking level in the entire game. Like, oh my god, dude. Just dealing with the enemies there was bad. And if I recall, the hardest boss in Ark of Nakasteam... Was it Ark of Nakasteam? No, it was in, Oath of Belgana. It was, the night guy. I don't remember his name. That dude was pretty difficult. Oath of Belgana, I don't remember it very well. And honestly, in, Lacrimosa of Ghana, I don't think there was any really difficult areas or difficult bosses. Like, Lacrimosa of Ghana was honestly relatively easy compared to the other Ys games I played. I think it was because of Perry and the other thing. I don't remember what they're called now, but like, those make Lacrimosa of Ghana a lot easier. Sunset Riders. That freaking game. Sunset Riders. Oh my god, that game. The hardest boss was the Indian boss, hands down. That boss was awful. It is the worst boss of the game, hands down. Like the final boss, you could outright seize. You can outright seize a lot of bosses. That Indian boss, though, good freaking luck. I don't know what you're supposed to do about that guy. That guy, ugh! He will eat your coins. He's a coin-eating boss. He will destroy your soul, and you will cry. You will cry big manly tears. You will cry big manly tears. And if I recall, one of the levels was, was one of the levels a vehicle level? Oh, we're not talking about fighting game bosses. We're not talking about them like Street Fighter 2. Ha 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 ha. Street Fighter 2. Yeah. Anyone that watched me play Street Fighter 2 Turbo will know how frustrating that game was. Anyone watched me play Fatal Fury 2 and fight Axel will know how frustrating that was. We're not talking about fighting game bosses here. Metal Gear. The hardest area in Metal Gear is probably the tower climb. The tower area where you gotta go between two towers. I think that area is the hardest area in Metal Gear Solid 1. And honestly, I think the hardest boss in Metal Gear Solid 1 is probably, let me think. I don't know, Liquid was pretty bad. The fight with Liquid was probably the worst fight in the game, but if we had to pick someone not Liquid, it might have to be, I don't know, like, most bosses in Metal Gear Solid are not that difficult. They're really not. Like, Hulk and Raven, both fights are not that difficult. I don't know, Hank kinda sucks. A little bit. So it might be, Hulk and Raven, the first fight with Vulcan, if we don't pick, the fight with Liquid. I mean, Ray is kinda rough too, but like, I think Liquid's worse than Ray. And if we go with Metal Gear Solid 2, I think the worst boss in Metal Gear Solid 2 might actually be Vamp. The first fight with Vamp. And that's because I didn't know the C's, but like, Vamp sucks, dude. Vamp is awful to fight. Bomb Defusal. Oh dude, the whole Bomb Defusal segment kinda sucked. If doing that with Batman also sucked, but I think Vamp's worse than Batman. But yeah, I think the other part, the other hardest part about Metal Gear Solid 2, it's probably the swimming area. Like, it's so easy to get turned around in the swimming area, and it's so easy to run into a mine, and with Emma, like, Emma doesn't take very many hits at all. Yeah, it might be the water section, and it might be the bomb defusal for hardest area in Metal Gear Solid 2. But I still say Vamp's the worst boss in Metal Gear Solid 2. And no, we're not counting VR missions. We're not counting VR missions, okay? VR missions are their own thing. Now, Metal Gear Solid 3, I think the hardest area... it's probably the mountain area. Maybe. Because you don't have very much space to hide in the mountain area. Like, at all. And if you get caught, good luck trying to get away from the enemies there. Now, if I were to talk about the hardest boss, I think the Fury is the hardest boss. Like, the Pain's kinda annoying, but the Pain's also not that difficult. Ocelot's not too bad. Vulcan's a little bit rough, but there's a way to deal with Vulcan. The end isn't really difficult, he's just very long drawn. Like, he just takes a while to go through, because, you know, you have to keep track of him. And, you know, there's a way to skip the fight. The Fury is just difficult. Like, it's just hard to deal with the Fury. Because of the range of his fire, and he can just show up and just mess your day up. So I think the Fury is the most difficult boss in Metal Gear Solid 3. And I think the mountain area is the hardest part of Metal Gear Solid 3. I don't know if Mint would agree with me. I'm actually curious what Mint would say is the hardest. I kinda wanna ask her, honestly. I kinda wanna ask her what she thinks is the hardest boss and areas in each of the Metal Gears, but at the same time, I don't know if I wanna bother her. I never got to play Metal Gear Solid 4 or Revengeance. Metal Gear 1! Metal Gear 1! That's not the one with the swamp, is it? Because the swamp area in Metal Gear... It's Metal Gear 2 that has the swamp area. Honestly, the swamp area sucks because it's invisible. What would be the hardest area in Metal Gear Solid 1? Or Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear 1 and 2. I don't remember the areas. Let me look. Metal Gear map. Let me see what the map looks like. Some of the map for Metal Gear. Honestly, the basement in Metal Gear kinda sucked a lot. I think I recall the basement being awful. Yeah, I'm looking at these maps, and I think the basement might be the worst area in Metal Gear. Looking. Looking. It might be the basement. Actually, it might be the last area in Metal Gear. In all honesty, if you want my honest opinion, it might be the very last area. But I think it's the basement in because the basement had that maze that you had to navigate. It's not the one that had like the where you had to use the gas mask like all the time, or was that Metal Gear 2? I don't even remember the bosses in 1. Who were the bosses in 1? Does anyone remember? I don't think I really struggled on any of the bosses in 1. No, I didn't. I did not struggle with any of the bosses in 1. Although I will say Metal Gear sucked. The boss Metal Gear sucked in the game. Because you have to know the pattern. Metal Gear 2. Metal Gear 2. I remember there being one area in Metal Gear 2 that sucked so hard. And I don't ever want to play it ever again. I think it was the area where you had to, like, loop between floors because, floors like the elevator didn't work, so you couldn't go back a floor. I think that was Metal Gear 2, right? The invisible boss in Metal Gear 2 sucked. I think that might be the hardest boss in Metal Gear 2 was the invisible boss. Yeah, I think that might be the hardest boss was the invisible boss in Metal Gear 2. Yeah. Because you have to figure out where he was, and if you're hearing his bag, good luck. Good freaking luck. Here's one for you. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. The hardest level in that game, I think, is Apocalypse's level. I think that level is really freaking hard. Because if you're not good at the game, and if you don't know the inputs, it's very easy to just die. Like, super quickly, trying to get away from the lava. Like, I think that's after you complete all of the first 5 levels. And then it's 3 levels after that, I believe. I mean, some of the Magneto levels suck too, but I think Apocalypse's level is the worst level in the game. And honestly, I think the hardest boss might be Apocalypse, hilariously enough. If you're not careful with fighting him. There is a way to seize him, but he's kinda hard. Otherwise, it's Magneto. Magneto sucks. I hate fighting Magneto. Spawn. I think the hard... What was... Man, I don't remember the levels in Spawn. I do remember a giant sip. A giant sip is the worst boss in the game. The Violator, not so much. But that giant sip sucked, man. It was awful. Because it was so easy to just die. You just get squished and it's like, eh. Just, eh. Gah! You're dead. You've been punished. You say you're never punished, but you're punished for trying to rush there. Hey! Give me a game. Give me one game. Maybe I have played it. You know, thinking about the hardest area in Chrono Trigger, I think is Magus's Castle. Actually, is Magus's Castle the hardest area? Like, Magus himself is the hardest boss of the game, in my opinion. Well, Magus himself is the hardest boss, but I also think that Twin Golems are... Like, it's gotta be Twin Golems. I remember dying to them a lot when I streamed the game for DS version. Twin Golems suck, dude. They're awful. But in terms of the dungeons, is Magus's Castle the worst dungeon? Honestly, it might be Hirano Lair. Is there Hirano Lair or Magus's Castle that's like the hardest areas? You don't have any games? You got no games to throw at me? Really? No games? Super Mario 64. You saw Rainbow Ride. I do think Rainbow Ride's one of the hardest levels. Well, I already went over that. But, there was another level. There was another level that I thought was really, really nasty. Shoot, what was that level? I don't remember what the level was. There was one more level in Super Mario 64 other than Hit-Hawk Clock and Rainbow Ride. And I can't remember. Mario Kart Wii? Mario Kart Wii? I don't remember Mario Kart Wii! You're asking me to remember Mario Kart Wii? Mario Kart Wii tracks. Please show me what were the tracks in Mario Kart Wii. Do you have images? Oh god, Rainbow Road. I don't know, man. Rainbow Road is a pretty good contender at that game, if I recall. Oh god, Breath of Fire 1? Dude, Breath of Fire 1. Are there any areas of Breath of Fire 1 that I thought was awful? Honestly, I don't think any area in Breath of Fire 1 was difficult, per se. I don't remember Breath of Fire 1 being that difficult. It was just kind of bland. Now, Breath of Fire 2, I do remember one area in Breath of Fire 2 being awful. And I think that was like the, when you had to go inside someone. I think I remember that area being a terrible dungeon. And if you want the worst boss of Breath of Fire 2, it was a boss that inflicted zombie on you. Yeah, the fat cells. The fat cells, and you couldn't really go back to heal either. You were kind of stuck in the dungeon, so good freaking luck. But like, there was a boss that inflicted zombie on the party, and that boss sucked. Like, I have no idea how you were supposed to do that boss legit. Anything involving the monkey? I don't remember the monkey stuff, honestly. I do recall some of the stuff being tough, though. That was with Stan, right? That was the character's name, Stan. If I recall the solo part with... Oh, it was Stan. If I recall the solo part with Nina was kinda hard. Like, where you just had to play just Nina. I think I recall that being kinda difficult. The boss wasn't so difficult, but just getting the dungeon with only Nina was kinda hard. I still think the hardest boss was the boss that inflicted zombie, though. And dude, you wanna talk about some of the hardest dungeons? Breath of Fire 3. That freaking stupid desert. That stupid desert, dude. That desert is one of the worst dungeons in Breath of Fire 3 and in any game. It was just so bad. And the enemies were so ruthless. Like, those enemies just suck. I don't remember bosses in Breath of Fire 3. Let me look. Breath of Fire 3 bosses in order. Show me the bosses. Who are the bosses? This is not telling me who the bosses are. Show me the bosses, please. I remember one of the bosses being really, really nasty. And I don't remember who the boss was. I remember Dragon Song being kinda awful. Was it the Ammonite? I think it was Ammonite who... Was it the Ammonite? I don't remember who the enemies, who the bosses were. Man, I don't remember the bosses at all. Does anyone remember the bosses? Well, yeah, it was definitely the desert level. The desert level sucked. Hands down. Desert level sucked. If I recall, the factory level was kinda awful too. I just don't remember the bosses. There was one in particular, though. There was one in particular. I think I game over on it a few times. Maybe. Let me think. Final Fantasy III. It's probably the mini area. I think the mini area is probably one of the worst areas. Just happen to be mini. The entire time sucks. Honestly, the worst boss is probably the Salamander. Because it's just so easy to just get gimped in that fight. And you don't really have a way of dealing with fire elemental stuff. And if the DS version, it's even worse. Don't worry, at some point we are doing the DS version of Final Fantasy III and Final Fantasy IV. It will happen. I will cry. I will cry. I will get very angry. Trust me, it will happen. Final Fantasy IV DS, I already talked about that being the power sock for the area. Yeah, the PSP or DS version of Final Fantasy III is just like, ugh. It's awful. Final Fantasy II. The hardest area in Final Fantasy II. Yeah, I know it's the same as the DS version. I think it's the, I'm not sure, because I know, I seized that game. That's the thing, I seized Final Fantasy II very hard, so nothing's really difficult in FF2. Final Fantasy X. Honestly, I think the hardest area in Final Fantasy X is probably the Calm Lands. The Calm Lands or Mount Gagaset are the hardest areas. Calm Lands suck because of the Malboro. Mount Gagaset sucks because everything just hurts. A lot. And Mount Gagaset has the hardest boss in the game, hands down. Seymour, there, hardest boss. He sucks. He is like the worst boss in the game. Now, Ebrai on the airship is probably a good contender. But like Seymour at Mount Gagaset, ugh. Definitely one of the worst bosses in the game. And to think about the Calm Lands and Mount Gagaset, they're very straightforward. FFN, every area is pretty straightforward for the most part. It's just the enemies that make the area so difficult. It's like in, let's say, Final Fantasy X-2. the hardest area in Final Fantasy X-2. I mean, it would have to be in Chapter 5, right? I mean, if we're gonna go with the hardest boss, it's probably Agramanu. If we're not counting Paragon and Trema. But and if we're counting the worst dungeon, it's definitely the math dungeon. That's the worst dungeon in any video game in history. But like in terms of any other dungeon, I don't recall any of the other dungeons really being super bad or anything. And like, if you wanted to, you can turn off random encounters if you get the right accessories. So I mean, whatever, you know. I don't remember any of the areas being super difficult though. FF12. I think the hardest boss might be the Elder Worm in the forest. If it's not him, I actually don't know. FF12 is a weird game. It's a very weird game. Like, the bosses, they're all over the place in FF12. Now, if you want the worst area in the game, it's the freaking, tower, the lighthouse. That place is the worst area. That place sucks. Like, who thought the lighthouse was a good designed dungeon? Ugh. And the enemies there suck too. Now, another good contender for worst dungeon is the Great Crystal. Especially if you try to go to fight Ultima. That place is awful too. Like, please, help me. Help me, please. We need Akuma music. But yeah, it's just bad. It's just awful. What other things? I'm trying to think of other things. Give me just a second. 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. Was there really any hard area in Symphony of the Night? You know, thinking about it, I haven't played Symphony of the Night in a long time. I don't remember there really being a hard area. I do remember a boss being kinda difficult. It might have been the Chariot. Was the Chariot a boss in a Symphony of the Night? Because Galamoth, I'm not gonna count Galamoth. Like, can we count Galamoth though? Because you can seize Galamoth super easily. I swear there was a specific boss that was probably one of the most difficult bosses in Symphony of the Night. I don't remember the areas too well. Maybe the clock tower? Or maybe the underwater area. Maybe those might be the most difficult areas. But I don't remember Symphony of the Night very well. I do remember, Super Castlevania 4. I think it was the fight with the mummy. Was it the one with the mummy? On the clock tower? No, wait. Or was that wrong with blood? The floating gears? Oh, dude. The floating gears. Ugh. Dude, there was some pretty awful levels in that game. If I recall, it's the one level where you have to, like, jump on stuff, and if you don't move fast enough, you go right into spikes in the ceiling. And there's, it's the same level where if you don't jump off the stairs and go up the stairs immediately, then you just lose, because the stairs don't respawn. That level, I think, is in Super Castlevania 4. That level's the worst level in the game. I remember that level sucking. That level was just bad. I don't remember the bosses too well, so I can't speak of the bosses. Man, I don't remember very many bosses at all, do I? I am having recollections of something in the Mega Man X game that really grinded my gears. It was in X4, I think. Wasn't X4 or was it X1? One of those games had the boss that just really sucked. And I can't remember what it is. Man! Memory, why are you failing me? Memory, please. Memory, please. Oh, dude. Here's one for you. Fire Emblem, the Sacred Stones. The worst level in that game. I can't remember which one it is. It's a layer level. Has a whole bunch of mages that will just continuously snipe the weakest character in your party all the freaking time, and it feels like even with 30% accuracy, they will hit that one person all the time, and oh my god, that level sucked. That level was downright awful. I remember that level taking me 2 straight days to beat. And I think I even streamed it. No, I don't think I streamed it. I did play it though. I think it was a Let's Play. But like, oh my god, that level was so bad. It was like, oh, please. I just want to get through, but you keep killing Joshua. Joshua, please stop dying. Give me a second. Dude! Digimon World. Digimon World 1. I think the hardest area in Digimon World 1 is the Ice Sanctuary. Because, you know, Teleporter Maze, it sucks. The Ice Sanctuary is genuinely awful. And in order to get in, you have to have, like, a very specific, Digimon to get in. Which is like, if the enemies were mean, you would get in fights, like, constantly. Constantly. I don't remember the bosses, though. The bosses, I mean, were kinda whatever. Now, Digimon World 2? Oh, there was one particular boss that sucked really hard, and it was like mid-game. And I don't remember it. Like, Digimon World 2, I can't really pick out one specific dungeon because it's all, randomly generated, but some of the dungeons were just awful. And Digimon World 3, I cannot pick a specific hard boss because I cheesed the game. I got the accessory that would, if you took damage, you would counter and do that same damage back. So that's how I won the fight. Is I just let that Digimon take damage, And if they died, I would just revive them. And then sub it back in. So I basically just seized the game. Dude! Super Metroid. Super Metroid. I'm gonna be stopping here in a little bit. I don't really have a whole lot more to go. Super Metroid, I think the hardest area is probably Meridian. I think it's Meridian. Is that the water area? I think that's the water area, right? Like, Meridian kinda sucks. Like, even with the gravity suit, Meridian sucks. And honestly, I think the hardest boss in Super Metroid might be, I don't know. Like, honestly, bosses weren't too difficult. Hoon was kind of rough, actually. Hoon was kind of difficult, I feel. And if I were to think of, like, say, I don't remember our Metroid games very well. My memory's gone as crap, guys. I'm sorry. I am getting old. Oh god, Sonic. Sonic. There's always that one level in a Sonic game that's like the worst level. I think it was like it was like a temple area in one of the Sonic games where you just fall indefinitely and you have to jump perfectly in order to get to where you need to go. And like, if you didn't do that fast enough, you would probably just die of like ghosts. Technobase. Is that the Lupin area one where it's gravity based? Because I think I recall that area sucking a lot. And honestly, I think the hardest boss in Sonic 2 is the final boss, just because of the hitboxes. Like, honestly, most of the bosses throughout the game in 1, 2, and 3 are not that bad. I think the hardest one in 3 is the lava one, just because it's so easy to just fall into lava so easily. I think Chemical Plant Zone might also be one of the harder levels. Chemical Plant Zone kinda sucks a bit. Dude, what was it? Was it in 1 or was it in 2? It was like a water level. Hydraulic Sea. It was like Hydraulic Sea? Hydraulic Base? You know which one I'm talking about, right? It was Hydro something or another. That place was pretty bad. That was a pretty awful, awful area. And the Lost Ruins or whatever, where you had to chase after Robotnik while the place was flooding. I think that was in 2. That one might be the worst one. I think that might be the absolute worst level in the game. And I don't remember if that was 1 or 2, but it was bad. Sonic Adventure 2. I think the worst level in Sonic Adventure 2 is probably the space level. No, not the space level. No, it might be the space level. It might be Last Rush or Final Rush. Final Rush is so easy to just go flying off and dying. The worst boss, I think, in Sonic Adventure 2 is probably the Ghost. I hate the Ghost. The Ghost sucks. Screw that Ghost. I never played Sonic Adventure 1. I should try that someday. Someday or another. Oh! Here we go. Here's something I forgot. Donkey Kong Country. Cosmic Fall. I don't remember what Cosmic Fall was. Donkey Kong Country for first. The hardest level in that game is probably the first minecart level. It's either the first or second minecart level. Those minecart levels are hard. Like, even with how much I played Donkey Kong Country 1, those minecart levels are just, ugh. They're difficult. They are legit difficult. I also think, there was a snow level that was also pretty difficult too, if I recall correctly. And of course, in like Donkey Kong Country, it's probably Skickerburst Symphony, because that level is kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie, that level is kind of rough if you're bad with timing. Although Racing the Parrot is also kind of rough. The bosses I don't think were really that difficult in either game. In one it would probably be the Senior Necky. Senior Necky kinda sucks. Oh! There was a factory level that was like awful in Donkey Kong Country the first. I don't remember which one it was, but it sucked. And I hate it so much. I hate it. It's the one with all the, where you have to jump on the drums with fire and time with the fire. I recall that one being a pretty difficult level. I don't remember Donkey Kong Country 3. I'm sorry. Donkey Kong Country 3 escapes my mind. But I remember the Rocket Barrel level being awful in that one. I think that was a bonus level though. Oh! Toxic Tower in 2. Toxic Tower is really difficult. It sucks. And you know what else sucks? The roller coaster level in 2. I cannot wait to see Fuwamoto get that. And they are probably gonna suffer a lot. They are gonna suffer so much on that level. Anyways, I think that's all we're gonna do today. Today was just, you know, shooting the breeze. I didn't really have a whole lot to talk about today. I felt like this was a good topic to go over, but honestly, like, I didn't even go over some of the Zelda levels, like, the Water Temple in, Ocarina of Time, and in, Twilight Princess. I didn't go over, like, say, Hero Rock in, Link to the Past. I didn't go over a lot of the stuff that I thought I was gonna go over, but we went over enough, I think. So I think we're gonna call it here for today. And I will say until next time, everyone, whatever that may be. I don't know what the next Zatsudan is gonna be. I will have to think about that because Zatsudans are kind of difficult to come up with. Not gonna lie. Anywho, I will catch you guys next time, whatever that may be. So until then, everyone,